So the first challenge will be to speak English. Thank you very much for inviting me here. What I like in this session today was the title, How to Anticipate. And I remember a cartoon that I used to read when I was young, where you could see a couple in a car, and the couple was staring at a road sign. You know, the road was surrounded by mountains, and on the road sign you could see, "Beware of stones falling down." And the driver said, "What can I do with that?" As if I could do something. And sometimes I wonder if broadcasters, I work for the French public broadcasters, are not looking at what's coming next in the TV area with this kind of reaction, as if I could do something about it. And guess what? We can do something about it. You know, not long before dying, Steve Jobs told his biographer that TV was ready for a reinvention. And guess what? I think he was right. It's TV's turn to be massively disrupted after so many other traditional media, the music industry, the newspaper industry, the book industry. And we believe that the destructive curation which runs the digital and internet revolution might be even more brutal for TV than for the other media. Because everyone wants to be a part of it. Everyone wants to be a part of the future of TV, even Google, even the pure players, even the TV manufacturers. To tell you the truth, it was not the case for newspaper. So for us, broadcasters, we're not alone anymore, but we should try to do our best in order to be part of this thing. In fact, TV now is defined by the way it is consumed, and it's a major shift for our industry. Let's take some elements out of this slide. In the last 12 months or so, we've seen a new and dramatic change of behavior by the audience who decided to have conversation around our best programs and our best TV shows. It decided that it did not want to wait 12 hours before discussing at the water cooler, but instead wanted to discuss it live on social networks while it was broadcasted. It's called now social TV, and let me tell you that this social TV, this brand new phenomenon on the second screen, is really a very rich and augmented TV experience. We call it the social couch. It allows you, in fact, to share the TV experience, not being limited by the same place and the same time. And it's because new behaviors by the public, it's because the public wants to be multitask. You know, time is the new frontier of our time, and the internet, the multitask experience, allows us to gain sometimes on the day by doing 2 things, 3 things at the same time. Now your day is not composed of 24 hours, but 48 hours, 72 hours. Time is our new frontier. So social TV includes several big advantages for TV channels. It grows the audience. It gets a more engaged audience with your program because people talk about it before, during, and after a show. It enriches your shows with new, refreshed content and new storytelling, and it allows you to know more about your audience. Therefore, at France Télévisions, we'll have very soon our own social TV platform, and we will work with others as well. Engaging people is the new name as the people formerly known as the audience. The disruptive engine we know are exactly the same for all kinds of media. We are witnessing an increase in video content. I will not spend time telling you how it's the end of monopolistic position in both production and diffusion of content. It's kind of general deflation due to the dramatic fall of barriers to entry. We have an explosion of devices on our screen, totally new end users' behaviors, citizens and consumers are now in charge, and technology supremacy is ruling because experience first, context is king, and access to content is more important than ownership of content. So now that TV and internet are connected, what can we expect? We are today not able to tell you what the future will be, but we're following these tracks in order to try to follow the consumer's experience. The first track is the media center. It's very simple, in fact. Here, the TV set becomes the center of the family digital and connected life. It helps distribute content on every screen. The second path is the browser. We are a friend of Google here who was speaking about Google News, but the new Google TV, in fact, will try, this is my point of view, to be a kind of operating system of your TV, and we'll try to succeed in managing our lean-back experience and trying to replicate its success in organizing our lean-forward experience. The third path for the future of TV is, of course, the App Store. Look at the screen. The TV now resembles to an horizontal iPhone. And of course, for TV broadcasters, we are afraid of the same thing, being one of the 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 applications, not ruling on a TV set anymore, but being an application among other ones. If I could tell you in 2 minutes, when I first saw the Samsung new connected TV set, it had a corner on the left corner, a hand. You could see the direct TV channels being presented among applications. It's not the case anymore. Now the new Samsung TV just shows you application, and direct TV is just an application. Live TV is not an application among others. The fourth path is enhancement of TV and shows. France Télévisions has helped to create a new European standard of hybrid connected TV called HbbTV. It allows you to have an augmented experience on the TV set each time you connect your TV. And this in a general agenda where all screens can interact. This is part of the new paradigm of the smart TV. Smart devices have three main characteristics. The first characteristic is they are connected to the internet, they can talk to each other, and they know a lot on your personal behavior and your personal data. So TV set will very soon be able to propose relevant content even before you know it. And in following those paths, we try to follow those rules, and those rules explain our strategy today. First, the don'ts. Whenever you think about the future of TV, our don'ts are these following. Don't try to maintain the system closed. As a broadcaster, you used to rule the system of the TV, you used to rule the TV set. It's not the case anymore. A whole new number of actors will be coming there. You won't be the master of the TV set anymore. Don't try to control, or better said, don't try to limit the user's experience. I see a lot of my friends that say, let's not allow the consumer to do that. Let's not allow the consumer to talk to a Facebook chat when he's connected to our program on TV. Do not allow the user to do that. Our don't is the following: don't try to limit the user's experience, adapt to it. The third don't is don't believe your content will rule the user experience. There are very, very, very few content on earth that can push the user to change his habit, to change the experience he wants to have. It first chooses the interface, the experience he wants to have, and then see what content is available in this kind of experience. Now the do's. First, always distribute. What we call at France Télévisions hyper-distribution is distribute your content wherever you can distribute it. A new pass is a new chance for your program to be seen. Don't think exclusivity, think ubiquity. As you know, ubiquity is the new exclusivity. Second do, engage the audience at every level, including the creation. Be xenophilic, be open, embeddable, connected to social network. Be pragmatic, don't try to do what others do better than you. Whenever you talk to Facebook, to Google, whenever you talk to a TV manufacturer, whenever you talk to Twitter, don't think you will be able to create a solution better than the solution that they have created already. Try, experiment, imagine universes and not programs. Don't talk about TV programs anymore. Talk about whole universes, talk about gamification of content, gamification of program. Feed the conversation, promote connection, test technologies, and put the user at the center. So to make a long story short, because Bertrand asked me to limit myself to 15 minutes, and I'll try to do that, what we do at France Télévisions is the following. Of course, we have our multi-screen strategy, TV everywhere. We've worked already with every ipTV operator in France. We work with the web, of course, and we have taken some time to put the live TV normally available for everybody and free on TV, but it's done on the web, sorry, but it's done since a few weeks now. Of course, we developed every kind of mobile and tablet application which allows you to see catch-up TV, but live TV as well. And we are going into the connected TV, what we call OTT, over-the-top services now, even for catch-up TV and augmented devices. So this is the first part of a strategy. The second part relies on news, but I won't spend a lot of time with it. We developed France TV Info, which is not a news site. It's not a widget. It's a news site, a widget, an app. But most of all, it's a new kind to reinvent the conversation around news, like a Twitter feed, like a timeline, but a timeline you would engage the conversation with a newsroom and not just only with your friend. So to my knowledge, we were the first in France to launch this real-time, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week experience when you can ask your question to a newsroom every minute, every hour of the day. We have launched our enhanced HBB TV connected TV experience, so it's just the beginning, but it's the first one in Europe. We've been the first one in Europe to launch an augmented TV experience with C'est dans l'air, which is a live show every day on France 5, a channel that I also run, which allows you to interact, to know more about, the people that are intervening in the program. It's a live experience on connected TV. It's the beginning. It will look very old in a few months, maybe in a few weeks, but it's an experiment very important for us. We have launched special operation with Facebook on our political shows, like Mots Croisés. Special activities also with Twitter and around Des Paroles et des Actes, another political show that we ran during the presidential campaign in France. And so this is what I wanted to show you. What I could have also shown you was the Eurovision contest experience when we worked with IBM and Twitter, and we were able really even to predict who would be the winner thanks to social networks 72 hours before the competition took place. So to sum up, in conclusion, at France Télévisions, it's very simple. We want the public to have a much richer TV experience because it's possible. And we think it is the golden age of TV. It might be not the golden age for broadcasters, it's up to us, but for TV, it's the golden age. In an open environment, we will experiment every technology available to achieve this goal, and we will not force the choice of the audience. On the contrary, we will give up some control to our audience to allow some co-creation and some co-production. We will prepare our program and our shows to this revolution while ensuring our copyrights are respected. We will rely even more on our key advantages, great live events in sports, general news and politics, high-quality documentaries and magazines, and exclusive rich fiction. We'll continue to finance creation and production of great media content while encouraging new storytelling and new forms of advertising. And we will help our staff, journalists, producers, technicians to benefit from this amazing transformation. Thank you, 14 minutes. Thank you very much.
Brilliant. Thanks, Bruno. That's an exciting peek into the present. You're very fast present with some new developments, and a little peek around the corner of what's coming. That's really what we're going to get into in this panel. If you wouldn't mind taking a seat over here, we're going to have questions for Bruno. After we have another keynote speaker, I'd like to bring to the stage Phil Fearnley from the BBC. Manager of News and Knowledge. Is that like doing the knowledge? You have to do the knowledge at the BBC, like the London taxi drivers?
I wish. I had trouble getting here on a taxi this morning, so
yeah, I had trouble too. There was not a lot of knowledge.
No.
Yeah. Okay, so it's all yours. Thanks.
Thank you very much. So I'm delighted to be here. I'm Phil Fearnley. I'm the General Manager for News and Knowledge, and also the person responsible in the BBC, at least, for the delivery of our Digital Olympics. I'm going to do three things in this short session. I'm going to talk a little bit about the context for BBC News digitally and online, do a really rapid scamper through some of the things that we're doing at the moment, and then talk finally about what we believe is coming next, and more importantly, what kind of coping strategies we've adopted, or we are adopting, which you might find of interest. So I'll start just by setting some context for BBC Online. We set out this strategy 18 months ago now. We call it our 1-10-4 strategy, with BBC Online as a single service proposition to our audience, consisting of 10 products. And you can see those there: news and sport and weather, the homepage, etc. And finally, the 4 representing 4 screens. That's desktop, tablet, mobile, and finally connected TVs. And I was intrigued to read Mary Meeker's presentation yesterday from the All Things D conference in the US, where she was describing how fast the market is moving. And just want to give some figures from it. How many of you got an iPod? This is interactive, this bit, by the way. Okay. That's probably about 2/3 of you. It took eight quarters for Apple to sell 10 million devices. In the same period, that's 8 quarters, they sold 20 million iPhones. How many have got an iPhone? My word, this is all Apple, isn't it? That's even more. Okay, and then finally, it took 8 quarters for them to deliver 3 times the volume of iPads as they had sold iPhones. So 65 million iPads. So again, iPads. Amazing. The thing for me, though, was the next slide on her 98-slide deck. If you get a chance to have a look at it, do. It's a good read. It took 13 quarters for Android to deliver 250 million sales. It's just a phenomenal rate of change that's happening in the market. And it's my little son's 5th birthday this year, this year, and today. And I was thinking back what was around 5 years ago. If I was looking 5 years out now, if I look back 5 years, what was there? Well, there were no apps. There was no app store. There were none of those devices. And the scale of change is just dramatic. Our strategy 18 months ago would probably, in the same kind of time, would have been 400. We delivered websites then rather than products. Zero products, and probably 1 or 1.5 screens. So if you think about the scale of change, I've got no idea how many screens that are going to be there in the future. I just know that there is a phenomenal rate of change. And this is the kind of scamper through. So if you think about that 1-10-4 strategy, so BBC News has got an ambition to be available to everybody on each of those platforms. So we have our desktop service, and Mary talked yesterday about our live, an example of our live service. There's for the England riots. We have the magazine example. We have right to left languages, and that's okay. Standard desktop fare. This is our mobile browser and app experience. So in the UK, we had 3 different ways in which our audiences could get access to our content. They could access it they could access the full-fat desktop version, if you like. That's the one on the left. just by the browser. There was a optimized version which tried to make it easier for people with mobiles, and then there was our app. And what we realized when we were reviewing this is actually almost guaranteed we weren't giving our audience the best possible experience we could, based on the capabilities of the device themselves. Because of the plethora of devices that were coming to the market, because of the plethora of screen sizes, because of the plethora of different access mechanisms, whether it's 3G, 4G, Wi-Fi, whether you could stream, whether you could get high quality bit rate or not, whether you could store on the device itself. We knew that the way that we were going, we couldn't possibly satisfy all of that demand. And give what we wanted to do, which was the best possible experience depending on the capabilities of the device itself. So we approached this by kind of taking a step back and delivering a mobile responsive design proposition. You can see there in kind of 3 flavors. It's the same product. I think there's 2 or 3 things for me that this highlights. One is you can deliver a very good experience even to what are called feature phones. The key feature being that they have pretty much no features whatsoever. They can't play video, but you can deliver a really good news service to them. The second thing that this does is allows us to scale across all of the different current and potential mobile form factors coming out. And as new capabilities are deployed, we can bring those to market relatively quickly. And the third thing is we can do it at a price we can afford. I think it was last year at CES there was something like 80 separate tablets launched, each with different form factors, each with different capabilities. There's just no way that you can design the most optimum experience possible. And that responsive design even works on a tablet. So we know, scale and scale up significantly. Of course, we want to take advantage of the features where it makes sense, and we will do an app and we will continue to do apps for certain of the app stores. And just to give you a flavour of the kind of scale that we've reached, we're about a year into delivering apps now on both iOS and Android. Globally, just over 15 million downloads of the app in that time, of which it roughly splits a third Android, 2/3 iOS. We also launched recently our internet-connected TV proposition, and here's just a few sample screens. This is basically a video and text service that our audience can get to either via an app store, or they can get it via pressing red button. And what this allows for is a series of up to 10 or so video clips kind of packaged together, constantly being refreshed, each clip being 1.5 minutes, 2 minutes, etc., with the audience being able to use through just up arrow, down arrow, left and right and OK, being able to navigate to the news clip they want or the story they want while still playing the video ad in the background. If you press up arrow, then you can get into a range of text-based services, and there you have, whilst the video still plays out in the background, you can read alongside a text story. Now, we've done some. This is fairly early days for us in terms of data. So I've got no data to present back. But you know, the funny thing was when we did the initial research, our audience said they like watching video on a telly, which was kind of stunning, wasn't it? You know, we thought they might do, and so we know that there is much more that we can do to package video content and present our services. But actually, sometimes just keeping these things simple is the right way to go about it. And as Bruno said earlier, the world of internet-connected TVs is complicated. If you think about desktop was relatively straightforward. Yes, there are a number of operating systems to work through. You've got to do your IE version and your various other flavors of operating system. Mobile is a lot more complicated because of the various device form factors and capabilities of the devices themselves. And internet-connected TV is likewise a complicated world, because not only do you have multiple manufacturers having application stores, you also have games manufacturers being able to deliver applications to screen. You've also got Blu-ray players, cable and satellite operators, and they're all fighting for attention, all fighting for access to audiences. The additional complication of the manufacturers, of course, is that each of their models changes every year. So you've also got now an installed base of TV sets, and increasingly we will over time, which are IP connected, but again, a bit like mobile phones, have different capabilities. So it is an extremely complicated world. So what next? Well, I think that device proliferation will continue, there's no doubt about it, across all of those platforms, across all of those screens. And I've been in the technology business for about 25 years now, and almost as long as I've been in the business, people have been talking about convergence. It's a complete myth. There is no convergence going on. This is getting a harder place to be. What I am seeing, though, is a blurring of broadcast and IP. And I think that is one of the trends that we will see increasingly as a TV can bring both a screen can show both a broadcast stream and an IP stream, and those things become merged. This is not broadcast and IP that you'll start to see an overlap between broadcast and IP, and I think some of the things that I showed earlier for what we're doing with the Olympics, I think are examples of that. We'll continue to get operating system proliferation. Facebook quoted as bringing their own mobile operating system out next year sometime, along with their mobile phone. We have Windows 8. We will continue to have increases there. We've also got next generation Apple TV, Google TV, and in the UK we've got something called UView, which is one of those examples of where IP and broadcast starts to come together. So we're definitely going to see more of the same. We're definitely going to see more change. I think the other thing is glass will be everywhere. And the challenge for us is how can we present our content to all of those glasses at a cost that's affordable and in a way that our audience can understand where it comes from. So I've just finally just put some recommendations here. First one is about standard and scalable solutions. Our iPlayer, our video catch-up service, is now on 500 separate devices. And we realized going through that process that you couldn't scale. So what we've now done is we create a standard, so for all of the manufacturers, for IP, for the set-top box manufacturers, and for the Blu-ray players, and for the TV manufacturers, we produce a standardized HTML5 format, and we'll work with them to get that product on their devices. So we have to standardize, and we have to provide a solution that's at scale. The second thing is a debate that raged for quite a while internally within the BBC at least, was about, is it apps and browsers or apps versus browsers? And the reality is it's both. It's not an either or. You need to be in an app store to get presence, but equally well there are people who don't have the device, and the amount of political pressure, I would say, that gets brought to bear because a person has in their own home an Apple and they think that everybody therefore has an Apple. When you see the numbers such as Android taking off in the way that they are, it's not the case. 18 months ago, maybe 2 years ago, everybody in the BBC had a BlackBerry, had a RIM device. I'm not quite sure where that is now, but at the time it was we must have capability on BlackBerry. So we'll see more of that. And I think where you use an app will be to take a specific advantage of the features that those devices will have, such as DRM protection and offline reading. The third one there about simple design. I think our experience on the responsive design and also our ipTV service was actually our desktop service is probably quite bloated. Lots of services are bloated. They get feature rich. And actually if you want to be across multiple devices, the design and the user experience needs to be consistent. There needs to be a familiarity of design patterns and interaction patterns. And actually that is the thing that are partly what the audience is coming for. Because the reality is they're coming for the content and the quality of the content. And then the last thing is what I described as the importance of live. That for me is just an absolute focus rather than trying to be able to deliver every piece of functionality on every device in every kind of way, it's just not going to work. It's not going to work at the scale because of the proliferation of devices, etc. So for us, the focus is on delivering the best possible live experience. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Phil. If you could just have a seat next to Bruno. I've got one of my 4 screens here. These kind of remind me of a character in a book, one of my favorite books, The 13.5 Lives of Captain Blue Bear. Anyone know that one? It's kind of a mix. It's kind of a Douglas Adams meets Dr. Seuss. Anyways, I read it to my children, and there's a famous character in there. His name is Professor Abdullah Nightingale, and he is so smart that he has attached 7 external brains to his body so that because he holds all the world's knowledge. And I think that's kind of a good analogy, is that as we're trying to innovate, can we actually deliver all of the world's knowledge, and is that always the right idea? We're going to bring some more external brains to this panel discussion. I'll bring them up one at a time. Michel, Lévy-Provençal, and I'm not sure I pronounced that correctly. Oh, I made it. I'm an American, and I made it okay. Fantastic. Please join us. Thank you. He's the CEO of Joshfire from France. Torsten Riese is the managing director of NewsCred. Riese. Ganz genau. Okay. And Johan Malmsten, CEO of the European Daily in the Netherlands, is joining us on this panel. And we have maybe 20 minutes, is that right? According to my clock and the published calendar of events. And I thought, well, we've got one extra microphone here, so we're going to have to share, and I'll see if I can get some more. You've just heard 2 keynotes, and we heard Krishna. You know, innovation is both scary and exciting at the same time, because the world is being blown up in front of you, and you have to find a new path to the future. Maybe Michel and Torsten and Johan, you could react a little bit to what you heard, and also maybe amplify or destroy some of the things that were presented on stage. Please. Would you like to go first?
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Well, when I listen to what we saw here, I think we are starting to enter in a new era. This new era is the smart era. We started with the smartphone, the smart TV. Tomorrow we will have smart homes, smart cities. And, well, this new era, we know that today we have around 7 to 10 billion connected things in the world. In about 12 years, we will have around 20 to 50 billion of connected things. If you count only what you know as device today, or things that could be connected, we are around 10 billion. It can be automobile, it can be, well, of course, smartphones, TVs, desktops, etc. But we have to find around 20 to 30 billion things that will be connected in around 12 years. So the main problem is that if you want to put content on those new connected things, we will have a huge problem for editors, because there's more and more, and I could totally agree with what you said about explosion of devices, because we will have more and more fragmentation. And it's more technical fragmentation, you know, but also design and the way we push content on those devices or technical surfaces and glasses. So what we try to do, I mean, in my very little startup, you know, we are 15 people there, is to try to do what a great brand and company did, let's say 5 years ago with the web. It's WordPress. We are trying to do what WordPress did with the web, but with the apps. Try to figure out how we can simplify the way to put content everywhere without having to do very hard stuff to put them everywhere. You know, when you develop an app today for a mobile, you have a lot of kind of technology for mobile. So you have to develop a specific app for each mobile. It's exactly the same with smart TVs, exactly the same with tablets, and tomorrow it will be a real nightmare. So what we try to do is to be really open in terms of technology, in terms of standards, and we have, well, we have developed a kind of a platform to put content inside and to simplify the process of distributing this content, whatever the platform, whatever the technology we need to perform this this display. And well, to do that, you have to use openness. Like like you said, Bruno, we have to use standards like HTML5. Like I'm more on the hack part of the title, you know. So I will speak about more technical stuff, but just a few words about that. HTML5, JavaScript, standard openness, API, right. Just to be able to reach those new devices that are coming.
Thank you.
I completely agree. I think it's great stuff what you guys are doing, and it's really coming, for me, it really addresses the heart of the problem. The heart of the problem is not that editors, I don't think editors have a problem. Actually, editors are living in a wonderful world where more content is consumed by more people than ever, and in more situations. I mean, every time I sit on the tube in London, I see people checking their mobile, I see people on the buses checking what's going on. So this is a wonderful world. It's actually, the news industry is booming, but in my mind, the big problem is distribution. Distribution is something that we're all struggling with. And the distribution, I don't think about getting all your content, all platforms, all the time. I think that's something I personally wouldn't subscribe to. It's when I say distribution, I mean getting the right content to the right people in the right place at the right time. And this is the main challenge, because in the past, you know, when I grew up as a journalist and newspaper journalist, distribution was easy. It was like a mechanical process. It was like
well, as a former newspaper guy, I wouldn't say it was easy, but it was. Yeah, it was pretty straightforward.
Yeah, it was pretty straightforward. But once you worked it out, it sort of worked pretty seamlessly, and it was largely a mechanical process. It's about infrastructure. It was about logistics. Today, distribution is about technology, completely about technology. It's about using metrics, social metrics, understanding the content, your content, in a scalable way. So I'm not talking about like editors. They obviously know what they're writing about, but your distribution system needs to understand what your content is about. It needs to understand what your readers want. I'm actually surprised that when I look at my favorite news sites, when I open them, they still look like a 19th century newspaper, right? There's no personalization whatsoever. I look at the article that I've read a couple of hours ago, and that for me is not intelligent or smart distribution, and that's I think the nut that we've got to crack is to address that problem. We've got the technology there, and I'm actually sometimes miffed or don't understand why we're not solving the problem. So you've plugged your company, so I might as well plug mine. So this is really what NewsCred, what we are about. We use that exactly.
Oh, you have an answer to this problem.
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, fantastic. Okay. What a surprise. Yeah, and you can learn more about it. He's got a great booth back there if you've been over there the last few days. But it is interesting to try and figure out what to focus on, and that seems to take a lot of the mental energy, right? Because you've got great pressure now with the accelerating pace of change. You've got to make the right bets, but you've got to make enough small bets to gain the knowledge of iterative knowledge and thinking to know what the path is going to be. You know, is it going to be Apple TV that's already built on an iOS platform that's been out for 5 years, it's evolving, it's iterating. If you want to know what the future of Apple TV is, just jailbreak an Apple TV and see what the developers community is building around it, and you'll get a glimpse. think about how they connect devices. And, you know, it takes things like, you know, really focusing on how hackers think or how designers problem solve to open up the channels to innovation. And so, Johan, I want to extend that thought with your reaction to getting it back to how do we create the culture to innovation? How do we decide what to focus on? How do we problem solve? How do we fail fast forward? Because this train is coming, this bomb is coming for television as it has come for other media, and you're doing something completely different, so please.
Yeah, sure. Maybe first I should explain what a newspaper is doing up on stage. So the European Daily, as the name suggests, is a daily newspaper for Europe. We will offer quality news and analysis from a European perspective and serve as a platform for pan-European debate. Our target audience, our sort of readers that we're catering to, are what we call the mobile Europeans. So it could be among the 15 million people who live in another European country than their own, or one of the many people who regularly cross borders for work, studies, or leisure. These are very demanding readers, many of whom still require print. And
so your innovative new platform is something like this?
Absolutely. No,
this is the prototype, by the way. It hasn't launched. Okay,
we knew from the start that we needed to have print as part of the mix, not only to sort of give credibility and weight to the digital channels, but also to build the overall brand, and not to mention as a revenue stream. And yeah, coming back to the platforms, I guess for many people it might be a little bit counterintuitive that a news organization launching in 2012 also includes print. But for us it's an absolute necessity given who we're catering to. And we definitely need it in the short to medium term. And this is not to say that we are ignoring digital channels. We're taking them very seriously, and we are in fact developing a very, very exciting cross-platform HTML5 solution to complement print. But on this particular panel, my role is more to symbolize or remind people of that alongside ipTV and all the other exciting new platforms, print can also be quite exciting. And in this context, I mean, what's interesting to sort of reflect on listening to my colleagues on the panel is that news organizations like the BBC, for example, that's been around for ages, they are today facing similar challenges and have to face similar choices as do a news organization starting now. And I think what we have to our advantage, well, all news organizations have to their advantage, is that there are companies such as NewsCred and Joshfire out there that innovate a lot on our behalf, and that working with good partners, we can do a lot.
So it is a collaboration, personalization, socialization, external brains, and I can't emphasize this enough, what great design is, and we look to the great design leaders, you know, it is that simplistic thing. You know, MP3 players existed before the iPod. What did the iPod do different? One touch, turn it on, two touch, make a selection, three touch, enjoy, and the device goes away and you have an experience. And this is the challenge as we innovate with a cloud of confusing, you know, competing directions we should or we think we should be going in, or focus groups tell us that, you know, they might be interested in this. We kind of have to jump over that sometimes, right, as innovators. How do you do that? How do you do that? Bruno, how do you make decisions about which rabbit hole you want to chase?
It's, you know, it's very difficult when you work in a big organization. You have both an advantage and an hindrance. The advantage is that the marginal cost of experimentation is rather low for your company. So you could theoretically experiment a little bit everywhere. The hindrance, of course, is the cultural, the culture of the organization that says that we shouldn't experiment, we should develop. So if you open a channel, you should open it for every content you have. Don't open it just for one and for the experience. So you have to fight. You have to muddle through those two things, and the best way for us is try to to look at what we see as the user's experience developing, what people want to develop as far as experience, and jump into it and then learn from it. But we haven't found a better solution than that. Try, a lot of time fail, sometimes succeed, and try to learn. It's a real cultural gap for industrial companies, but you have the resources to do that. So try to do that.
Fantastic. Yeah. So support failure is what you're saying.
Yep.
Because it's the only way to learn. Okay. So, do you have anything to add to that, Phil? About culture, about leading and managing this kind of response to rapid changes and rapid, challenges. And yes, he can add something after you add something.
I just would have something. The cultural gap is that it's very hard for organizations to try something in a place they don't control. We are absolutely certain that one of the major challenges for broadcasters is not on the first screen, but on the second screen. Because you talk about the user experience, what's coming in TV is the two screens experience. You have, let's say, the collective screen with the TV set, brighter, larger, better and better, which can be seen by 2, 3, 4 persons at the same time. And at the same time, you have your second screen, the iPhone, the tablet, the iPad, whatever you want, which is a personal screen. And the TV experience, I'm absolutely certain that will develop in the coming years. It's that you will have, as a TV viewers, to have both ways. I want to look at the global TV set, collective program, whereas I'm engaging in my personal second screen. And of course, for TV channels, you have to develop things on the second screen, but you will not control the second screen because it's developed by Apple, because it's developed by something else, by Joshfire or whatever. And so to try to promote this culture that try to work with somebody else in order not to develop your own program, but what you can do with interfaces you don't control, this is, to my point of view, the most challenging cultural things that we have to do.
Yeah, just to add to that, the reality is innovation is happening at various places at various times. And to try and deliver a systematic approach to it is complicated. The innovation is happening in the industry, it's happening by third parties all over the place. It's happening in individual product teams when they do maybe smaller scale innovation. I think the key challenge for the BBC has been how do we innovate that allows us to scale that innovation. And we have a brilliant R&D lab that's been inventing colour TV and DAB and a whole pile of other things. And it gets involved at the kind of standards level on a lot of these things. We've got increasingly great innovation happening as we bring editorial technology and design resource together, whether that's the kind of data journalism and visual journalism that we've seen a lot of. And the third thing is we instigated a program at the start of this year called the Connected Studio, where for each of our products and for major themes, we've gone out and reached out deliberately to the market. We've run our first one of those. It's a program which has, by definition, a sort of a set of money attached to it for third parties if they're successful, but the whole idea is that we work together. Our next one is coming up in a couple of weeks' time, where we're looking at how we work around weather, and the whole process of that is about changing the culture of our organization to not be insular, to look to the market, to look for innovation wherever it is, to collaborate and work together. So open APIs, open data sets, working together, it's absolutely the way we have to go. We can't innovate at scale without working with third parties. So, and if anybody's interested, we have a NEWS1 equivalent in January next year, and we'd love anybody who's interested to kind of get in touch with us.
Fantastic, fantastic. At this time, I don't know who's watching the clock. Antoine, how much time do we have? 5 minutes? 15 minutes for some questions? We maybe need some microphones. Do we have some microphones and some questions for our distinguished panel? Anyone? For the guy who's starting a newspaper? Yes, someone. Okay, good.
I find it very, quite surprising and amazing that you are launching a newspaper on Europe when you know that Europe is so popular today. So what makes you think that you will be successful, and how is it working? How many people read it, and how is it going? And why did you do it when Europe is now declining, I would say, to be provocative?
Sure, it's a good question. It's actually been a project in the running for about 5 years. It was actually started here in Paris. I'm Swedish, and as a Swede living in France for a little while, I felt that there was definitely something missing in terms of a news source to read and relate to on a daily basis that takes Europe more as a starting point rather than the national sphere in which you happen to be in at that point. So in terms of us launching now in 2012, it's more of a coincidence that we've been developing the concept over time. We started with an online website that we used to sort of test the concept and get feedback. We did this preview edition that Robb showed a little while ago last summer as sort of a final test and to test the commercial side a little bit as well. So it's more or less a coincidence that it's happening now, but I think this is a super exciting time to be launching a European platform, in particular a platform for debate, because there is so much going on right now, and I think Europe will definitely benefit from a publication that takes sort of Europe as a starting point and show a little bit how events in different countries, for example Greece right now, have an impact on different countries instead of just having sort of the national view on what's going on.
Hello.
We'll go over here. Thank you.
Yes, my name is Philippe Hertzberg. I work for the New York Times Syndicate. My question is on who's going to pay the bill for the innovation, or how to monetize these different platforms. You can actually see different platforms which are easier to finance. I mean, ipTV seems to be more encouraging because we're seeing budgets from broadcast moving to online. However, mobile is still a big question mark. There was a ComScore study for 2011 that showed that time spent versus ad spend, and time spent on mobile was 23%, ad spent on mobile was 1%. So mobile is still very challenging. So it was very interesting to hear your thoughts on how easy or the challenges of monetizing these different platforms.
It's more of a mobile and monetization. Michel, do you have any thoughts initially on this?
And ipTV monetization.
Yes, of course.
The most difficult question for me. Well, I think we have to experiment. I don't have any solution that works for every kind of platform, every kind of device, every kind of content for monetization. We've worked a lot on advertising, of course, on the past. We've worked a lot on the fact that today the apps created new value because of context. I mean, everybody knows that the content today is, well, the value is not coming only from the content, but a lot from the context. So I think the answer is really experimentation and trying things, failing, but sometimes finding some little solution that really works. I don't have any magical solution for monetization.
Torsten?
I can talk a little bit about it. I used to be the mobile business manager for The Guardian, and I think at the moment on mobile, Apple makes a lot of money by selling content, so I don't know why newspapers can't. At The Guardian, at the time and it was a very difficult decision. We went exactly through those metrics. The numbers just didn't add up for mobile advertising. So we explored a paid-for model, and I can say that was largely successful. So that's also part of experimentation. Some people would say that's a step backward, and they would disagree with a closed sort of app that you'd pay for. But hey, if people pay for the content, you should charge for it. It's nuts not to.
Any further thoughts?
Apart from the BBC, of course.
Okay, fantastic.
Of course, how could we answer this question, both the BBC and France Télévisions, when we are public companies?
But your content is already paid for, so...
No, it is not by chance, I think, that those two companies have a role in innovation. It's because they're not so much tied with the business model and the monetization problem. So I think, I'm speaking for France Télévisions, it's one part of our responsibility to try to innovate and to take this part of innovation burden for other, including for other companies that have really to see what's the monetization problem will be.
Fantastic. Any further questions? Oh, we've got one in a hand in the back, if we can get a microphone back there.
Sorry, Sebastian Sten from Media24 in South Africa. I've got two questions really. One for Phil. I noticed your responsive mobile design. I thought it was very cool. Why did you choose to only use it on mobile when it's responsive design? It'll work on all platforms. Was that a conscious choice? Because I know the BBC doesn't have responsive websites.
It was a conscious choice. It's a bit about that innovation at scale. We decided to focus on that one. In fact, since we've launched our news site on mobile, we've launched our radio and music product on mobile and tablet in responsive. And that's kind of building on the work that we've already done. We can definitely see a path to building a responsive design capability that stretches right the way through to ipTV offers. And I think that's a kind of a glide path that we will develop over time. So it's just it's a sequencing thing. Cool. I suppose the second thing on that is we need enough people with enough of the right technical skills to do the kind of things that we do at scale. And we thought the right thing at this point was to get something out there and see how it worked, and then leverage it. And that's kind of our approach.
Awesome. And then the second question to you all, really. Okay, the last 10 years has seen the rise of sort of things like torrenting, what's piracy. BitTorrent recently released a peer-to-peer video streaming protocol. Those sorts of things are perhaps posing quite dangerous disruptive capabilities to all of your industry. How are you guys reacting to sort of those influences and the effects those are having? I know the BBC has iPlayer, which has been quite successful at combating that, but I mean, how are the others dealing with that space?
How can I say, just we're dealing with it. I mean, it's we have different tools in order to deal with it. With the example of the BBC, it's part of our responsibility to try to deal with it.
But so are you as concerned about it because of copyright concerns or compensation concerns?
Well, I should. It could
because in some respect, I think you want your signal to go farther and wider, but you don't really want
the French model is that we rely on external producers. So whenever we distribute, whenever we broadcast one of those producers' content, we take part of the responsibility of the copyright respect. And so we have to deal with it, of course.
Just maybe to add on the iPlayer. I mean, the iPlayer was a direct response to what was happening 5 or 6 years ago, and we realized that people were watching programs, they were taking content, and we kind of flipped it on its head and said, can we provide the best possible experience, the highest quality video? We're lucky we're in a kind of a free-to-air situation, so we deliberately set about to build something that people could feel proud of coming to, that legalized, if you like, a practice. And I think because we took that approach, which is maybe counterintuitive, that that iPlayer has been so successful as a result of that.
Right. Well, that's exactly what Apple did. Taking that iPod example further, they not only had beautiful user experience, but they put the store inside, and they legitimized digital delivery. And so you're saying that iPlayer had the similar success. So dealing with it or embracing it, but in some ways,
by embracing it, we have a player that is really similar to the BBC iPlayer. Okay. We were. Of course, impressed by what the BBC did. So we distribute the content on the legitimate way, iPad, iPhone, whatever you can. Okay. Hyper distribution is our response to piracy.
Okay, fantastic. Any other questions? Okay, that is it for the 5 external brains I have with me on stage today. Thank you very much for joining us.